Alright, so in this video, we're going to look at the 6 knowledge areas in IIBA's business analysis body of knowledge. So this forms a huge portion of your syllabus of your BA certifications, whatever it is, the entry-level certificate ECBA, certification of capability in business analysis CCBA, or CBAP, certified business analyst professional. For all the 3 certification offerings from IIBA, this is the main syllabus. This understanding the 6 knowledge areas is very important. Now this is exactly how you see the knowledge areas being introduced to you in the BABOK guide, and there's a reason why, which we're going to talk. So the inner circle, right, the one that you see inside, strategy analysis, requirement analysis, and design definition and solution evaluation. These 3 knowledge areas are core or fundamental important or predominant knowledge areas for a business analyst. The other 3, the one in the top, business analysis, planning and monitoring, elicitation and collaboration, and requirement lifecycle management. These 3 are supporting or anchoring knowledge areas. Now, every knowledge area is a chapter in the BABOK guide, and they are divided, or each knowledge area has got multiple tasks. So most of these knowledge areas have 5 tasks, except for strategy analysis, which has got 4, and RADD, requirement analysis and design definition, which has got 6. So altogether there are 30 tasks. So these 30 tasks are your main focus for the certification preparation. Now at this stage, we will only look at a very high level understanding of what every knowledge area is. And then once we move on to each knowledge area specific videos, we will do a deep dive. Now, strategy analysis is more like a gap or fit assessment. So when a problem or an opportunity comes to us, to an enterprise or to a department or an project team, let's say, the first thing we do is try and understand the current landscape. So what is the current state and where do we want to go? So what is the target state that we are trying to achieve? And it's not going to be a straightforward journey from the current state to the target state, right? So we will have a lot of challenges in between. So we assess those risks, and then we come up with, and we immediately don't jump into implementing that. We come up with a plan, a strategy. So that's more like a business case or a proposal doc or whatever, right? So that is all happening in strategy analysis. So in a typical scenario, not all BAs would have had exposure or experience in a strategy analysis space, but definitely whatever is happening, analyzing the current state, defining the future state, assessing the risks, and coming up with a change strategy, all of these are BA tasks, business analysis tasks, whether you are working in a BA capacity or a BA role. While doing that or not is a different argument. So that's strategy analysis. So let's say this is done, the business case is presented and it is approved and it's funded. Let's say the project is approved now. Then it moves on to a stage where all the project team members are formed, right? Which means a business analyst is also appointed to the team, and he or she has to now do a more deep dive understanding of the requirements. So which means they will go through all the documentations, talk to people, all the key stakeholders, put together some specifications and models and things like that. So the first part of requirement analysis and design definition, so any knowledge area which has got an and, you can divide the tasks into 2, right? To the first part and the second part. So there are 3 tasks to the requirement analysis side of things, which means you will specify and model the requirements, verify and validate the requirements. So that is all around understanding or getting clarity around the requirements. Then comes to a stage where we will start defining the design, how the solution should look like. We may not get into the actual solution at this stage, but more about defining what all we want to see in the actual solution. So that's where you propose, you start recommending different solution options. So you come up with a design and propose a few solution options to the key stakeholders, and then leave them to decide on what needs to be done. So the final task of requirement analysis and design definition is coming up with some recommendations for the stakeholders about the design options that needs to that can be picked for this particular requirement. The third knowledge area in the core is the solution evaluation. So solution evaluation is also similar to requirement analysis and design definition, which means you will do a deep dive analysis and come up with some recommendations. But the main difference being here you have a solution already in place. So in RADD we started off with requirement, right? There was nothing in place. It is all the requirements and you were trying to give shape to those requirements by having all those stakeholder interviews and putting together those specifications. Whereas in solution evaluation, the solution is in some form. It could be in a prototype, or it could be in a beta version, or it could be a fully used production version of the product. You are stepping in as a business analyst to identify the performance indicators and assessing if the solution is performing at its optimum value, or if not, what all we need to do. So at this stage also you will come up with some recommendations. You will identify the limitations, and these limitations again could be solutions limitations, what the solution is not capable of doing, and because of that it's not seen or used at its best. So it could be the integration capabilities, or maybe this is a legacy application. There is some issues in terms of how it allows us to download the data, or allows us to look at the data in the front end. It has not got a very intuitive front end. So things like that, right? So those are solutions limitations. And sometimes it could be outside of the solution also, which BABOK calls as enterprise limitations, which could be people issues, or no training, or there's no vendor support, or things like that, right? So those are external limitations. Now you put together all of these solution limitations and enterprise limitations and come up with uh, some top 5 or top 10 recommendations as to what all needs to be done to ensure that the solution perform at its optimum value. So in both RADD and solution evaluation, the ultimate task, the final task that you do is providing recommendations to the business stakeholders to make their job easier, to make their decision job easier. So that's about the core. And on the supporting knowledge areas, the first one on the top you see is business analysis, planning and monitoring, right? So business analysis planning is about just like how a project manager will come up with resource plans, forecast, and say project milestone plan and things like that. As a business analyst, you have got a few things to do, and that depends on the nature of the project methodology that is being picked, and the ceremonies that you need to adhere to and things like that, right? So suppose your the project is done in agile scrum or agile safe, it you have to blend into that and make sure your artifacts and your deliverables align to that, right? So this is about coming up. Mature organizations have predefined templates or plans already, which every business analyst will probably pick and choose and then customize. But sometimes if you have to define yourself, you will think through as in what is all required for this project, what will be your role, and come up with all of this stakeholder engagement plan, communication plan, requirement elicitation plan. So coming up with those high level plans of all of your activities and tasks that are required for a specific engagement. The final monitoring task is about making sure that you are growing, or this BA practice is growing, right? So there has to be a checkpoint as to how things are progressing, where we are being good, where we need improvement. So this is more like the performance review that happens for all of us. So either as an individual or as a practice, this is about monitoring what we are doing and identifying where we could improve. So that's about business analysis, planning and monitoring, a very generic knowledge area. And all of the supporting knowledge areas will come in and out all through the core knowledge areas, right? Wherever you're operating in the core knowledge areas, these supporting knowledge areas will be coming in and out, or will stay with you throughout. Same way, elicitation and collaboration. This is also the heart and soul of a business analyst, I would say. So most of the time we spend time in talking to people and either trying to understand what they want, or after we have put together our analysis, going and presenting to them that these are the things that we have found, or these are the recommendations that we want to give them. So elicitation and collaboration is all about preparing, conducting and confirming the requirements, and also managing the stakeholder collaboration overall all through the project. Any differences or any conflicts, how do you address that and keep all the stakeholders in sync and keep them all satisfied. So that's about elicitation and collaboration. And finally, requirement life cycle management. So though we don't initiate the requirements, and requirements are not owned by us, it comes from the business stakeholders, but still we give it the shape, right? When it comes from the stakeholders, it is need, it is more raw. We give some shape, as in we put together the specification documentation, we create data models, process models, or whatever visuals are required to kind of make it more clearer for all the stakeholders, or put them all in a common page in a way that everybody understands it in the same way. So because we do all of that, we hold accountability for maintaining the requirement or managing the requirement. So all through the life cycle, right from its initiation until it is spotted as no longer to be used. So in terms of traceability, maintainability is about getting all the uh, metadata about the requirements, right? Who gave you this, when was this requirement coming in, came in, and then what are the dependencies, what are the prerequisites, things like that. And it could be used for the current project, and it could also be used as a reference for future projects. So how are you going to maintain these requirements? Where is this sitting? So suppose you're following agile and you're using Jira as a tool. Maybe these are all sitting under a specific project folder as tickets or epics, right? So all of this planning needs to happen, and you need to know how you're going to trace, maintain, and prioritize the requirements. And not just, it's also about not just that, it's also about the change management, right? How along the way, if there are new requirement changes coming in, how do you adjust or accommodate that? What kind of approval mechanism, change management mechanism? So you probably would have defined that plan in the BAPM, business analysis, planning and monitoring, but here you're actually executing it. So assessing the requirement changes and approving or getting approval for the change requirements. So that's at a very high level understanding of the 6 knowledge areas. If you have to understand from the project life cycle perspective, right? So there is a pre-project phase, like I said, where we try to find the rationale for or reason for why a project needs to happen. There is a project phase where we will deliver or implement the actual solution. And there's also a post-project phase where we will make sure that the solution, whatever we have released, is doing its best. So if we have to position the core knowledge areas, the strategy analysis sits in the pre-project. It starts in the pre-project phase and maybe enters all the way through the project phase. REDD definitely is a candidate for the project delivery, because here is where you're supporting the team for the actual project delivery. And solution evaluation also. So if it is about assessing the solution that we are building, then maybe it is a post-project phase. And sometimes I said there could be scenarios where you're stepping in as a business analyst just to evaluate an existing solution, which means it could be a project by itself. And that's why you see from the project phase to a post-project phase, solution evaluation could be. So that's where we do the benefit realization, right? So is the solution doing its best? So that's about it. Understanding the 6 knowledge areas. Coming up next, we will be having a lot of videos where we will get into each of the knowledge area and look at the tasks in more detail. See you in a bit.